Yo, what's up, everybody? Straight diggity dog, back at you. I know it's been a while, and I apologize for my absence, but man, I think I got some pretty valid excuses for dragging my feet here lately. You know, as usual, I'm working all the time, but I actually have a solid crew right now. I hired a couple younger guys that need to work, so we've got a full, well-rounded crew right now. So the work thing's been alleviated some, but as y'all know, if you follow the channel, I've been trying to get my personal rig together and my whole setup. Honestly, I'm doing like a super, dream setup, like you see on everybody else's stuff. The dream setup. Like, I am way past budget right now, like way past budget, and reason for that, this just feels so foreign to me because I'm so used to finding great deals on Facebook Marketplace and putting budget builds together. The cheaper I can get a build put together, the faster it sells. So for my personal rig, I actually have bought all new parts, like top of the line for the most part. I did go with a little older platform. I'm on 12th gen. I have a 12th gen i9, and part of the reason for me doing that is obviously I didn't really want to take a chance on 13th and 14th gen, and everything after that's trash. I wanted Intel. At the time, whenever I planned my build out, the X3D chips were not, all the hype just yet. And I wanted a Strix board. I've got a lot of Asus products over the years, and I like Asus. I like the aesthetics mainly, and of course performance. And man, I'm here to tell you, a Strix motherboard is not going to go in my personal PC ever again unless I just get a really great deal on it and it's practically given to me, because the one I have right here, we're about to prepare to send back. I gotta take all my shit out of it and send it back. This one I actually got used from I got their cards somewhere, Computer Headquarters. It's a company out of California. I got it off of Amazon. I didn't deal with the company direct. I got it off of Amazon for $350 because the LGA 1700 socket is it's starting to get a little dated now, so they're not as easy to come across new. I do have another one coming Monday. I went with Aorus, the Aorus Elite Pro X. It's the best Aorus of that gen that you can get. And if you watch reviews on them, it actually, the temperature of that motherboard ran cooler than any other one. So, I mean, it got really good reviews. It's got 5 M.2 slots, just like this one. This one has a Gen 5 slot at the top, but if you use it, it cuts your lanes in half. It cuts you from 16 down to 8 lanes. So, I didn't do that. I was just going to go with these 4 down here that are Gen 4. That's plenty fast enough. There's no point in me spending crazy buku bucks on a 5080 Astral just to, hinder it by cutting the lanes in half for my GPU. So I got the first build together. It's over here. And I got this one in October for $229.99 on a Prime Day deal, and it's usually $300. But I get it put together. Love the aesthetics of the Strix motherboards, man. I really like. That's kind of why I got an Astral. If they continued the Strix lineup, I was going to get a Strix graphics card as well. And the main reason, guys, I like to have as many matching components as possible, because that means less software I gotta run to optimize all my stuff. That's the ideal configuration, but sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it too. So I get this one, the the Z790H is actually, I think this is the first generation they offered this. It's like a cut down Strix motherboard. It doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles while still being, Strix top of the line motherboard. It doesn't have the digital readout Dr. Debug, and that's pretty much it. It has 4 M.2 slots. It's still a very premium motherboard. I get everything hooked up, and it doesn't work. I'm getting no display out. The motherboard itself lights up. My RAM lights up, but the CPU is not getting hot, and I wasn't getting a display. So dead motherboard, whatever. I bought it back in October. I haven't tried to reach out to Amazon. I actually was going to try to RMA this one through ASUS, who has actually responded, like within the hour of me emailing them. Still going back and forth with them. Honestly, I think I did this backwards. I am going through Amazon with this one. Amazon's gonna, they said, give it back to computer headquarters within 2 or 3 business days. If they confirm it's a dead motherboard, then they're gonna refund my money. This one I'm RMAing and getting a new motherboard back. I kind of wish I would have done it the opposite way, because this one is a Z790E, which was the best Strix motherboard in that generation for that socket. And the reason I say I did it backwards is I would have preferred to keep this one and RMA it, but I bought it used for $350, which is insane amount of money considering I've built whole computers for that price. But when this board came out, like brand new, it was $500-600. I wish I would have been able to RMA this one and keep it for a test bench. I'm still not putting another Strix board in my personal rig. If I can steer away from it, I'm probably not going to be using ASUS going forward and any of my builds to flip unless requested by the customer, or I just get a really awesome deal on it. I actually have a tough motherboard over here, a Z690 in inventory, so obviously I'm gonna use it. But moving forward, I'm probably gonna try to steer away from ASUS, because as you see, I do everything right, man. I have an anti-static mod mat, grounded. I always wear gloves. Like, I know this motherboard's dead, yet I'm still wearing gloves. I don't do that just for one, whenever I'm doing that for flips, I don't want fingerprints all over everything I'm working on. And for 2, these are non-conductive. So instead of wearing the stupid wrist, anti-static bracelet, I always wear gloves. I also have the hookup on them because we use them at work. So it's nothing for me to just snag a box out of a case at work. As these can get a little pricey if you don't have the hookup like that. I would understand not wanting to do that. But plus they just kind of look cool. Look like a tattoo artist. But man, I'm seeing squirrels. I'm ADHD. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to stay on topic here. The reason I say I did it backwards, I would have liked to keep this one for a test bench, just because it actually has a power button on the motherboard, which is awesome. This is the first motherboard I've ever worked on or worked with that had that feature. That's really nice. Not a deal breaker. Obviously, for $7 or $8, I can go on Amazon and get a little button to hook up, but it also has the digital readout for the Dr. Debug. Man, those little lights on the normal Dr. Debug and the writing on them is so microscopic that it's annoying to try to read those, and they're not, they don't narrow it down that much, as where the digital readout will throw a code and you can look up that code and see exactly what it's saying. So this would have been nice to keep for a test bench motherboard, but the deal's done. I've already done it backwards. But what we're doing right now is getting this motherboard. Oh yeah, and they both have the quick release feature for the graphics card, which is a really nice feature when you start getting into these higher end cards. Normally I would just use any kind of tool or whatever you can do to get in there and hit the release button without damaging the motherboard or the card. But when you get to these higher end graphics cards, man, these dudes are beefy, so it's kind of hard to get to that latch. So that quick release is a cool feature they've added. Also, the toolless M.2, you don't have to mess with the tiny little M.2 screw. It does have all those features. All this is so, like, I'm gonna get spoiled because I got to go back to doing my budget build flips and my bare bones motherboards I'm used to working with. But it just goes to show you, and I even called it, I kind of jinxed myself probably. I was like, watch my components be the ones that end up failing on me, being brand new and top of the line. Sure enough, I've had 2 motherboards in a row die on me. This one, I get it. I get it in. I actually found it used for $350. Like I said, this motherboard goes for like $500 normally. It's the top of the line Strix motherboard. The reason I went with used this time is because obviously new didn't help me on the last motherboard. So I get this one in, do a test bed before I put it in the case, swap my RAM, drives, everything over. I even installed Windows, guys, like before I even put it in the case. Made sure everything was all gravy before I put it in the case. Put it in the case, and it posts, but it won't boot into Windows. It keeps giving me a inaccessible boot drive error. And no matter what I do, what troubleshooting I've done, I've tried commands, I've tried moving my drive into a different slot. I mean, I hate to even say this, but I even took it to Longview Tech Pros, which is a business that it's in a parking lot that I frequent, like going to another business. So I pass by there like every day. So I was like, man, I'm just going to throw in the towel, and I could be doing my flip builds and let somebody else see if it's, I'm not just crazy, because this is the second motherboard. Well, I won't be messing with them anymore. I dropped my computer off, and yesterday was Thursday. I dropped it off a week from yesterday. So they had my computer for a week. Like I said, I go by there like every day. So I went ahead and stopped in because I was like, man, it's been a week. I haven't heard anything. And I was like, just checking in with you guys. And the dude's basically like, yeah, I think it's a dead motherboard. It could just be a bad slot. And I'm thinking, man, if that's the case, why didn't you try different slots? Kind of what I'm paying you for. This is exactly why I work on computers on the side like this. Like, people need help, and Geek Squad is not the one to do it. I wouldn't even think of taking anything to Best Buy and Geek Squad after all the horror stories I've seen online. And then this other place that calls themselves Tech Pros, that's the kind of service I got. I mean, he was like, oh, I think it's a dead motherboard. And then he still even charged me, which I work in retail, man. I'm not going to be a Karen. I didn't throw a fit or anything. Everybody's like, man, why didn't you say anything? I paid the $40-something. I've had good experiences with these guys before. They worked on my phone. I don't do phone repair. That's one thing that I don't even have the desire to mess with. So that's another reason why I haven't posted a lot lately. My phone got submerged in water, and I have the Google Pixel 7 Pro, and it still worked, but it's just been acting really wonky ever since. And sometimes my camera is crystal clear, sometimes it's foggy, like there's still a little bit of water trapped in there or something. But anyway, they worked on my phone before. Within the hour, called me, fixed it. I've cracked my screen, and they've replaced the screen for me. I've had good experiences with them, but when it comes to gaming PC or gaming hardware, I will not be messing with those guys again. I even get it back to the house, and grabbing at straws or whatever the saying is. I tried a different slot, and I was curious because I knew the BIOS hadn't been updated. I remember it had May of 2024 was the last BIOS update. So I was going to try to update the BIOS. I've cleared CMOS. I've done all the troubleshooting you can do, guys. Believe me, I wanted this board to work more than anybody has wanted anything to work. And sure enough, the BIOS is still the same. They didn't even try to update my BIOS. So I don't think they even did anything. But yeah, they charged me $40-something. So out of all the computers I've built, which at this point I've built 20 plus computers, and I've never had an issue with a component dying, even though 90% of the stuff that I use, probably not that high, but a very high percentage of the parts I use come from Facebook Marketplace or eBay, or it's usually used hardware. And I've actually, like, knock on wood, I've been really fortunate. I've had a great success rate. I've never had a component fail on me or be faulty. Like, I find good deals on stuff. I get it. My wife likes to gamble, and that's actually where she's at right now. It's mother-in-law's birthday. They went to Hot Springs, and there's apparently a casino around there. So I tell her, like, this is my way of gambling. I like to buy used hardware and hope it still works. That's as far as I go when it comes to gambling. That's just never been my cup of tea. But anyway, I've had 2 motherboards in a row, both being Strix variants, and both of them faulty. So I'm not going back in with another Strix motherboard. I guess I should have been working while I was talking, but I'm trying to not ramble as much as I usually do and get all this out as straight as I can without sidelining to different stories, which I've already done. But anyway, let's go ahead and make sure we get all of my stuff out of here. I've already pulled my RAM out. Man, I even went to the point of looking at my manufacturing numbers and making sure that I even put them in order. Like, I've got a 43, the last 2 digits ending on the serial number. I've got a 43, 44, 45, 46. I even made sure those were in order. Still no luck. That's another big decision I've got on mine. Whenever I do get the new motherboard in Monday, I said it in the last video, but I did a job for somebody, replaced the power supply. I only had like $25 in the power supply, and I traded one of my LTT screwdrivers, and it was a buddy of mine, so it was more of a homeboy hookup. It wasn't like I just got this crazy deal off of some random cat off the street, but he gave me 128 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RGB RAM. And this is a 64 gigabyte kit. So, but I still don't really want to upgrade to that 128 gigabyte kit. I'm going to keep it on deck just in case, but I just love the aesthetics of specifically this Dominator RAM. This one has like the little equalizer dots, That's what it reminds me of. It's like an old school equalizer. The newer ones, they're just a straight solid line of RGB. But this one is like dotted and looks like an equalizer. So honestly, 64 gigabytes is already overkill. I don't even really know how to edit that good yet. So 128 gigabytes would just be a flex, which is actually what he was doing. I mean, he actually came off of that kit of RAM because he upgraded to 48 gigabyte sticks. So he has now like almost 200 gigabytes of RAM, which is just an insane flex. It's crazy, but he's also a single bachelor with no kids, so he has a little more play money than I do. Anyway, I need to get my drives out of here and my CPU. I've got the factory socket cover here because I did have a contact frame, anti-bend contact frame, whatever you call the socket cover thing. So I need to take that off of there, put the old one back in. I'm pretty cheap. I'm probably going to steal the thermal pads off of this thing because those things ain't cheap, man. We'll get something out of my inconvenience here. But I definitely want to make sure I get all my drives out of here, because I've got two 4 terabyte drives and one 2 terabyte drive. So I have a total of 10 terabytes in here. Don't want to leave one of these drives in here. That would be terrible, because they're a couple $100 a piece. That Aorus motherboard I got coming it's pretty clean, and that 5080 Astral is so chunky you can't see half my motherboard anyway. You're just gonna see like just this one little top half region. But that's why I haven't made a video in a while. I've been dealing with the stress of this crap, and I'm not gonna lie, just you feel very defeated. Which I know I'm lucky to have gone this long without having any faulty hardware. But it just sucks. It happened to be my personal expensive high-end hardware that failed on me. You know, it would have been nice if it was like some $50 used part I picked up and, you know, was expecting it. But no, it had to be my personal motherboards that keep dying. But I don't know, man. I've had a lot of Asus products, giving them a lot of money in the last couple of years. For my personal stuff, my laptop, which I still love. Thank God I have, you know, a laptop. That's kind of why I've prolonged putting my whole system together for so long. Like, I honestly could keep daily driving my laptop and I'd be perfectly fine. I don't play games that much anymore. I'm getting a little bit older and just don't have a lot of free time, and honestly it doesn't bother me that much when I do have free time. I have to be very selective about what I pick and choose to do with it. I can tell I'm getting old because I actually enjoy mowing now. I noticed that the other day. You know, nowadays you throw in earbuds, put a good podcast on. I'm on a riding lawnmower. It'd be a different story if I was on a push mower, but yeah, I thought about that the other day. I was like, man, I'm getting old if I actually enjoy mowing. But yeah, I just don't game a whole lot anymore. I really could get by with just that laptop, and have gotten by with just that laptop in the last couple of years. But I'm thinking, man, I'm running a tech YouTube channel and I don't even have a desktop computer for my personal daily driver. Something wrong with that picture. And that's why I've taken my time on it, because I've got a really good laptop that can play any game I want. You know, that it's a Zephyrus M16 with which is another reason I went with 12th Gen i9. That's exactly what I have in the laptop, but you know, it's a laptop, so it's the H variant. So you can't overclock it or undervolt it or do any of that jazz, but I know how it performs, and I know this one being a K variant desktop, I'm gonna have way more CUDA cores and power. And if that laptop one sufficed, I know this one will be more than enough for what I need it for. And I was kind of holding on to Intel, but that ship is slowly but surely sinking, guys. It's sad to see, but that is the case. Man, I have just been talking, and it took way too long to take that one cover off. But yeah, there's my 4 terabyte Crucial. I actually did buy a 1 terabyte Gen 5 and was gonna run that from my boot drive, because it's like, speeds are crazy. It's like 15,000 megabyte per second, whereas Gen 4 is I believe 7,000 or 8,000, which once you start getting to that line of speed, like you're not even gonna notice, honestly. But once I found out that it's gonna cut my lanes in half for my GPU, I was like, no. So I'm also sitting on a $100 Crucial Gen 5 SSD that I don't plan on using. I mean, I'm gonna keep it on deck just for whenever, but at the moment, I actually don't even need it. But yeah, I'm definitely keeping that thermal pad. Whew. Almost fumbled. But anyway, just kind of giving an update. I know it's been a while since I posted. I normally try to, there for the longest time in the last year. It's been over a year now because I have 80 plus videos. I've posted without fail like every Monday or Tuesday. But I don't know, after having 2 bad motherboards in a row and just normal personal life stuff happening, work's not going that great. I've got I work at a mom and pop grocery store that I butchered at for 20 years. I don't even feel like I'm old enough to say that, but it was my high school job. I was working 40 hours a week in high school and just doing the work program, early release. It made for a long day, but once I got out of high school, I just stuck with it and never left. But anyway, they've listed the store for sale. And whenever I asked the owner about it, because he didn't mention any of that, he was like, yeah, I have it priced so high I don't think anybody's actually gonna buy it. But it's like, bro, somebody is gonna buy it eventually, and then what? Guess I'm gonna be working for somebody else, or I don't know. I'm gonna ride the wave and see what happens. Like I said, I've been there so long. That's kind of part of the reason why I do the computer stuff and why I even got into it. Honestly, I just wanted to do something different. I've been butchering so long. I feel like I've already hit my peak. If anything, I'm getting slower rather than faster just because of age. And I just wanted to see if I was good for anything else. I do a lot of barbecuing and cooking. I actually have a barbecue / cooking / butchering channel that I've had it for a couple years. I don't upload videos on there nearly as much as I do this channel, but it's Josh the Butcher Gibson. Anybody wants to check that out. I do have some very informative brisket cooking videos on there. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, literally, like, long form as far as it goes, I think I have like 5-6 videos on there maybe. But yeah, I just wanted to branch out and do something else. Especially considering I never did anything else. It was my high school job and then just stuck with it. I kind of wanted to see if, like, what I could be missing. You start to, I'm almost 40 years old, so I'm like to the age where it's like I'm starting to think like, man, what could have been? What else could I have been good at? Will I never know if I just continue to butcher? So at the very least, I wanted to do something on the side just to prove my worth and that I'm worth more than just being a butcher, and cooking good food. Which I was met with it was kind of a shock because I'm so used to everything I post on, Facebook or YouTube or anything to do with my butchering and cooking. I just got crazy views and crazy good feedback because everybody eats, right? So it was kind of a shock whenever I switched to doing tech stuff, and nobody really, that's a very select audience on that. And there's already a lot of tech tubers, like a lot, and growing every day. So I kind of shot myself in the foot, somewhat purposely, considering I could have just stuck to butchering once again on the YouTube end of things as well, and there's not that many butchers. It's not nearly as saturated as the tech tubing thing is. So, but again, I just wanted to do something different. I was way past the phase of burnout, man. I just was like, do something for so long. And it's like, I could butcher in my sleep, but that's all I know. That's all I've ever done. So I don't know. It's just really nice to tinker and mess around with this stuff and just do something different. I know this is a long video of just talking head rambling, but I just kind of wanted to give an explanation for why I haven't been uploading as frequently and what's been going on. Along with my PC, I'm not just building a personal PC. I'm basically building a studio / workshop, whatever you want to call it. Like, I built my desk from scratch, hanging pegboards, getting the monitors the way I want them, all my audio, mics, all the way down to even, the floor mat for, so you don't mess up your carpet with the rolling office chair. Like, it's been a long, drawn out, strategic, that's why it's been so long drawn out. I could have threw some shit together quick and be, wham bam, we're done. But I don't know, it's a labor of love. I really, like when I get off work, because I work a lot, this is my sanctuary. This is where I come to unwind. I want it to be perfect, so I'm taking my sweet ass time with it, with good reason. And I think that it's going to pay off once I get everything the way I want it. Like I said, I'm definitely way over budget. Even if the motherboard thing didn't happen, I'm still spent way more money than I probably should have. Like I said, with them trying to sell the store, and I don't really know what the future holds as much as I once did. Just kind of wanting to make sure that I had my setup the way I wanted it, because I honestly don't know what the future holds as far as my income and work. I may not have the crazy, disposable income that I have at the moment. So I wanted to make sure that if anything did go down and I was unemployed for any reason for a lengthy bit of time, I would be set. I wouldn't long for anything. And, let's be real, all this stuff is not, stuff I have to have, but I did actually spend more money and more focus on the workbench side of this. I built an 8-foot desk, and my idea was 4 foot of it is going to be my actual gaming setup, where I chill, unwind, and the other 4 foot that you see now is my workbench side. And honestly, I've put way more time, thought, effort, money into the workbench side than I have the actual gaming setup. Because like I said, I don't game as much anymore, and if something does go down, I know I'm fully set up to do troubleshooting on people's computers. I need to get handier with the software side of things, but I don't know, that'll come with time. Everything I know, I've literally just learned from YouTube. I didn't go to college. I don't, for computer science, or I don't have any background in tech whatsoever. Literally everything I know is just YouTubing stuff. And I've watched and still do countless hours of YouTube. And it's paid off because, man, I've learned a lot. Not just on the tech side of things. I've done that since YouTube's infancy. Like, taught myself a lot of gardening stuff back when I got into gardening and canning and some of the butchering stuff whenever I was younger and still learning the trade. When I started out, the old man, like whatever he told you was law, was word. You couldn't just Google things back then with a smartphone in your pocket. But once it got to the point where you could, now it's like, it's a different day and age. If somebody asks me what a certain cut is and I tell them, well, they can then Google it, and better hope what you told them matches what their Google search comes up with, or else they're gonna, think you're full of it or don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, I'm gonna finish the rest of this off camera. This is kind of boring stuff. Like I said, I just wanted to give y'all some explanation for what's been going on. I promise, once I get this motherboard and this PC done, like, YouTube will have more of my undivided attention. Like right now, it's all I can think about is getting the workbench and my PC set up the way I want it, so I can then start working on projects. The whole reason I built this setup, I can start, going all in on projects for the channel and for, flipping PCs. So we're not too far off from it. We're getting there. But until next time, you guys, peace. Sorry this video is so long and rambling. Tell Axel bye. He loves you. He misses you. Oh, no, he's not having that right now. All right. Anyway, deuces.